Hi, my name is Ryan Morgan with Aero Digital. Today we're going to be talking about RPA, and we're going to be talking about an RPA maturity curve. So throughout our engagements with our clients, we've had the opportunity to kind of step back and see where RPA is being used in different ways in different organizations. And what we want to do is kind of boil down that learning into a maturity curve. Realize you've seen a lot of maturity curves, and I hope this one's useful. This is just kind of some way that we came up with how to look at this in a way that will help you. So if we take a look at these four levels, the idea is kind of saying what is the business outcome that we get from each of these levels, and then out of that, what is the business involvement or IT involvement that's appropriate for targeting that level. Kind of stepping into this, you have to think about what are the goals that we have. What are we trying to target here? What are we trying to get out of implementing RPA in our organization? And if you think about that up front, it's going to allow you to have the right level of IT involvement, the right level of business involvement, and have the right plan in mind as you're going into it, and keep yourself from making some mistakes later on. So as we walk through this maturity curve, there's four levels. The first level is a personal assistant bot. So if you think about a personal assistant bot, really, this is somebody within your organization has something that they do repetitively. They don't want to do it repetitively, so they record a bot to be able to automate some task that's a manual task. Whenever they want to do that manual task, they run it. And when they come back, it's done. It's done with consistency. You're able to kind of free people up to do something else while the bot's running, but it's still running on their local computer. So it's going to be tying up some resources and making it so they can't use your computer while that's happening. But this personal assistant bot, this is what's allowing you to do that, right? So second is a personal multiplication bot. So if you think about the personal multiplication bot, what this is allowing you to do is add some variability in those personal bots, right? So at level one, you're taking a specific task and you're trying to just automate it. Level two, you're saying, okay, I've got a little more training. I know how to use the software a little bit better. So what I'm doing is, I record this automated task, but maybe I add a little bit of variability in there. So now I'm able to, run this for, let's take the example of running a report, right? So before I just made it so it ran my report automatically. Now I'm going to add some variability so that it runs it for accounting, it runs it for marketing, it runs it for some different business units, right? This is still kind of in that phase where it's going to tie up your computer. You're getting some scale in that the person who's automated this task can step away from it, but it still is tying up their computer while it's doing the work. Once you get to level 3 and 4, this is where there's a little more IT involvement. So level 3 is where we kind of talk about organizational scaling. So take this personal multiplication bot, and we've added the ability to kind of have some variability. So it asks you up front, which group or which business unit are you running this report for, and it goes and runs it. Think about the organizational scaling as taking that off of the person's computer and putting this onto some of the infrastructure that's available using the tool sets, right? So you're going to run this on a server. It's going to take some inputs from a user, and then it goes off and does the work and finishes kind of wrapping it up on its own. This isn't something that's run on the person's computer, so their computer's not tied up. And this also allows you to kind of use something maybe for an entire business unit, for a department, or even just a kind of a part of your organization. This does require some IT support, though. So this requires the server infrastructure. This does require some decisions to be made up front about the kind of software you want to use and what kind of features you want in it. This last point, this last level here, level 4, innovation enablement. So the idea of this level 4 innovation enablement is for you to be able to say, what can we do with RPA to address the key impediments within our organization that are keeping us from innovating, right? So if you think about, maybe there's some different software that you have deployed within your organization that's either old or kind of locked down. Maybe you got some vendor lock-in where you can't get data out unless you go into the UI and type it in or pull a report. This allows you to say, okay, I've got this big idea and I want to innovate, but I don't want to take on the entire technology uplift of my organization in order to do that. So doing this allows you to say, okay, I'm going to create kind of these swivel chair integrations. Maybe I can't get an API into this vendor. Maybe I can't get into this software. But what I can do is I can create a bot to do that. And instead of kind of taking on this system, replacing this system, I can say, okay, I'm just going to work on this idea, and I'm going to create these swivel chair integrations using RPA to be able to address those key impediments without having to take on everything all at once, right? So if you think about these 4 levels now, depending on which one you're targeting, you're going to have to approach it a little differently, right? So, for levels 1 and 2, this is really kind of about resourcing your business users, right? So for levels 1 and 2, this is where you say, okay, look, for you just need to use the software. We want to make sure that you've got the right support, maybe some training. We're going to help whet your appetite and understand kind of what some other areas are doing. But this is really about just kind of supporting from an IT perspective. For levels 3 and 4, level 3, you obviously have kind of the server infrastructure, the IT infrastructure that you need to put in place for people to be able to use that. But you also have to think about standardization, right? So if you want to get the benefit of some of the grassroots work that's going to go on from your more innovative people in your organization, you need to make sure that they're using the same software. So there's some standardization efforts, some training efforts you need to do. And if you do that, then where you see kind of the more successful efforts happening, and happening really sourced from the people who are using it, you'll be able to kind of pick those up and say, that's worked really well. I want to spread this across the organization. This worked really well. I want to use it for an entire department or business unit. And then level 4, obviously, this is where, from an IT perspective, your more innovative people are going to be saying, okay, these are the big ideas that we want to implement. And if we didn't have, the restrictions that we have, this is what we would do. This is really where you're going to have those folks kind of doing that. Now, for levels 3 and 4, there are a couple things you need to think about. So you'll need to make sure you consider security. You'll need to make sure you have a governance model in place, so you kind of understand, who's able to run things and where. But other than that, I mean, really, it's a matter of kind of being in a position of, being an innovator, and being in a position of really being technological leaders in your organization. So this is our maturity curve. I hope this was helpful for you. Again, my name is Ryan Morgan. I'm from Aero Digital.